Hello and welcome back to this channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be creating some fun patterns with Adobe Capture and Adobe Fresco. We'll be designing our elements in Adobe Fresco and we'll be using the pattern making tools in Adobe Capture to create something like this and a few more designs, by the way. If you're wondering why am I doing this tutorial again, that's because the previous tutorial with the Adobe Capture pattern making involved using the captured pattern option in Adobe Fresco, but we're not going to be using that technique in this video today. If you're wondering which video I'm talking about, I'll link it in the description box below as well as the card over here. So let's just get started. By the way, if you don't have Adobe Capture on your iPad or your iOS device, go ahead and download it. It's completely free. And make sure you sign in using your Adobe ID on both Fresco and Adobe Capture. Only then the things will get synced around. Okay, so let's just get started. I'm going to go ahead and open Capture right now. So when you open Capture, if you're in this screen, go ahead and press on this camera. Otherwise, by default, you will see this screen. Okay, so let's just look at the pattern tool, shall we? So once you're here, just scroll around and make sure you're on the option patterns. And then click on this icon and it shows you the different kind of patterns you can make in this app. So this is a normal grid and this is a hexagon but with a twist. The reason I'm showing this to you without having an actual design in here is to show you the area that the pattern is going to cover. So I'll just bring in a sample image to show you which area gets covered. So as you can see, this one takes only this triangle to create a pattern, whereas the grid takes the square or the entire option that you have here. And this one has half of a square, and this one takes a square, but it's a square with a twist. And this is a hexagon again, but it takes a triangle. So the reason I'm showing you this is if you have an idea of what area gets covered for a pattern, you can actually use that to create your basic block for the pattern, and then you'll get a very flawless and seamless pattern. By the way, you can create vector patterns with this. The only thing you have to do is use vector brushes or shapes in Adobe Fresco, and then you'll have a vector pattern as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on this option right here, and you see my space or the area that the pattern covers. So I'm going to try and create this space in Adobe Fresco and try to fill it with some design. Let's go to Adobe Fresco now. You can choose any artboard size, that's totally up to you, and I think I would choose a small postcard, and you can just click on it or go to custom size, go to print, and there'll be a small postcard here. Since I have one open already, I'm just going to go ahead and open it. So as you can see, I've created some design, but that's okay. I'm going to hide that. All right, let me bring in the background layer. First of all, I would want to create a space which looked exactly like the triangle over there. So I'm going to go into any brush, it doesn't matter. Choose any brush. You can even go to a vector brush. So before you start this, make sure you go to your settings, app settings, input, touch, and there's an option called snap line. Make sure it's turned on, otherwise you won't get straight lines. Okay, doesn't matter which color you have. If you want, you can make it bright red just so that it's simpler. Draw a line and don't let it go until it becomes a straight line. That looks good. And now we are making one more 90-degree, and then join these 2 points. Okay, so as you can see, I made a triangle, but it's not exactly like, you know, the size or anything of the pattern tile, but that's okay. It's a basic idea that we have, like how you want to place your pattern. So once you have this ready, click on a new layer, and now we're going to draw everything in this new layer and not on our base layer. Okay, and now you can use any sort of brushes that you want. So now let's go ahead and choose our brush. I'm going to go into my brushes, and one of my favorite brushes is Belgian Comics. You can find it under ink and then Belgian Comics. I'm going to use that brush, and I've set it to about 82. It's totally up to you. You can set it to whatever you want. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and choose some colors. I would like a yellow, and I'm going to make maybe a flower here. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just randomly filling in stuff. Okay, and let me choose a contrasting color that's blue, and make sure your artwork is within that line. And you can go a little bit out, it's okay. And maybe choose some green. And then maybe, okay, guess that's fine. All right, I think my design is ready now. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck the base that I have, and I'm also going to go ahead and uncheck the background layer because we want this to be exported as a PNG. So once you have that, click on share and go to publish and export as, and you should export it as a PNG export and save the image onto your device. So click on save image, and this is going to save it on your device, and that's exactly what we need. Click on done, and we're done with that. So now let's go ahead and open up Capture now. You should be in the screen, click on cancel, and then everything will go off. You can click on this images again, go to your camera roll and bring in that image we just created. And you can see something like this, that's fine. And click on this tick arrow here or the tick here. So since this was a PNG, it came up like this because it does not have a background, and that's fine. We want something like that, right? You can also create something in a way that it has a background, that is keep your white background on, and then it'll be, with the background. Okay, so let's come here now. So now you can see this, you can use your pencil to adjust this however you want, and your design moves because it's taking only this part. You can keep it in the center, and you can see that there's a gap everywhere. Now if you want to increase the size, you can always use your two fingers to pinch and zoom out like that, or zoom in, something like this, and your design looks like this. But you also have an option to rotate this thing, so click and you can actually rotate it to however you want. I'm going to bring it back to 0 because my design is not supposed to be rotated. It's a bit tricky to keep it at 0. Okay, once you're happy with your design and you think everything looks good, go ahead and click on save. So when you're going to click on save here, you get an option to put it into a different Creative Cloud library. So these libraries are something that's visible across all your Adobe apps. Like you can see it in Photoshop. If it's vector, then you can see it in Illustrator, and you can obviously see it in Fresco as well. But only thing is it does not immediately sync across all the devices or all the apps. Sometimes it takes up to a day. I don't know what's the deal with that, but if you're signed in using the same Adobe ID everywhere, it will eventually show up. So once you have this here, you can either save it to the cloud library that's showing here. Otherwise, you have an option. If you click on this arrow right here, it'll show you all other libraries that you have. So you can choose any you want. And if this space is completely empty for you, that is if you don't have any library at all, you can always click on this plus button and create a new library for yourself. And since I want it into shapes, I'll just put it into shapes and I'll click on save. So once it's done, if I click on this X here, it'll go to my library where I've saved all my patterns. So you can just click on that and it'll open up that pattern for you. And you can click on the share button here and save to camera roll. Let's go ahead and open it. So you have created one pattern. So this is an image. So if you want to have a background color, only thing you have to do is export the artwork with the background, like as you see here with the white background, and then you can create something with the white background. I'll just show you how to do that in Adobe Fresco. Let's just go there. So let's go ahead and click on a new layer, and in here we're going to add the color. Maybe let's choose some color, orange or something, and go to your fill tool and click, and you can fill it with anything you want. If it's a vector illustration, make sure you fill it with vector. Make sure you choose the vector option here. And once you have this, just export it the same way. You can create this with the background color. Maybe I'll just show it to you. And it's a very bad color, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so once you're done with this, you can arrange it however you want. Oh, by the way, since I'm here, I just want to tell you that you can use the same design to create multiple patterns, because you can move it out here and it'll create a different pattern. You can bring it just this here and it'll create a different pattern. Not just that, you can also twist it around and it creates different patterns like this. And you can have a whole set of patterns using just one simple design. And then click on save, and I'm just going to save it. And let me click on X here and go to my design here, and you can see it has a background. So this is basically how you create these patterns. You can see how it looks like. By the way, I was talking about using vector brushes or vector elements to create vector patterns, because they'll be much more crisper and nicer. I have this pattern which I've created using the vector brushes actually. Not brushes, I've used shape tool to create this. I'll just show you the pattern base that I used to create this one. I use this as a pattern base. As you can see, this does not have a background, and I use this to create that pattern. It's nothing but some shapes with some blend modes. That is, I used multiply on different things. So you can use the same technique to create this as well. And I've used the same tile to create this as well. So like I said, you can use the same design to create multiple different varieties of patterns in Adobe Capture. So going back here, let me quickly go through what we discussed and what we learned about Capture. That is, you can use this basic tile to create a sample area on your fresco so that you know how to draw your design, so that when you bring it in Capture, it's much easier to arrange it to create a very nice seamless pattern. And there are multiple options to choose from, and you can use any of these as well. And once you save all this, you can access this across all your devices if you're signed into the same Adobe Creative Cloud ID around all these apps, although it might take a few minutes to reflect. You can export this as an image as well, which I showed you earlier, and use it in your designs or upload it to Redbubble and stuff like that as well. If you want something with a background, you have to make sure that you export the artwork using a background color so that you get something like this instead of a black background. Okay, that's it. That brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I hope you liked it. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well, so that you get notified every time I post a new video. If you want to support me, you can always buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com, and I'll leave the link to that in the description box below. It's okay if you cannot support me with money. I would really appreciate it if you could share this video with your friends or anybody that's interested in learning about Fresco or Capture. And I guess that's it for this week. Bye-bye.